You reach into your pocket and pull out a piece of paper. It has a number on it. And somehow, everyone on Earth agrees that number means something real. You can trade it for food, for shelter, for a plane ticket to the other side of the world. But here is the question nobody asks. What happened before that paper existed? What did your ancestors use for hundreds of thousands of years when there were no coins, no banks, no prices, no wallets? The answer will change how you see money forever. For roughly 95% of human history, money did not exist, not even close. And yet people survived. People traded. People built communities, raised children, and accumulated power. The ancient economy did not run on gold or silver. It ran on something far more powerful. Ran on reputation, on the unspoken agreement between people who needed each other to stay alive. Think about that for a second. No prices, no receipts, no debt collectors. Just people and the way they treated each other. Here is how it actually worked. Your ancestors lived in small bands of around 25 to 150 people. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar identified this as the cognitive ceiling, the maximum number of relationships a human brain can actively track. Below that number, something remarkable happens. You do not need money. You do not need prices, because you already know everything you need to know. You know who worked hard yesterday. You know who disappeared when it was time to do the dangerous thing. You know who shared their food when the hunt failed, and who did not. That knowledge was the currency. Generosity was the investment. Sharing was the loan, with no contract, no interest rate. No duedate, just the social expectation that one day, when you needed something, the group would remember what you gave. Anthropologist Marshall Solins called this generalized reciprocity in his 1972 work, Stone Age Economics. Give without expecting immediate return. The return comes later, indirectly, from the community, mediated by reputation. The ledger was not written anywhere. The ledger was people's memory. Richard Lee studied the Kungsan people of the Kalahari Desert for years, beginning in the 1960s. What he found was striking. When a hunter made a successful kill, he did not sell the meat. He did not trade it. Egave itawe to the in-group, and the others would tease him about it, joking that the animal looked thin, that the meat was barely worth eating. Tis practice called meat was not cruelty. It was social engineering. It kept any one person from feeling too powerful, too much like a creditor. The gift was real. The status was kept equal. Circulation, not accumulation, was the whole point. But then something cracked the system open. Around 10,000 years ago, humans began to settle, to farm, to stay in one place. And farming created something the old system was never built to handle. Surplus. Suddenly, you had more grain than your family could eat. Your neighbor had wool. Someone across the valley had copper, tools, and the old memory-based economy, built for a group of 50 people who knew each other, started to buckle under the weight of hundreds of strangers trading dozens of different goods. Barter tried to fill the gap. But barter has a fatal flaw. Economists call it the double coincidence of wants. I need to want exactly what you have at exactly the moment you need exactly what I have. In a village of 500 people, that rarely lines up perfectly. So ancient societies invented something smarter. In Mesopotamia, the civilization Euphrates rivers in modern Iraq, barley, grain became the first standard of value. Wages were paid in barley. Debts were recorded in barley. Temple storehouses acted as the first banks. And the first writing in human history, cuneiform, the wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay tablets, was not poetry. It was not prayer. Archaeologist Dinesh Manpesara spent decades proving this. The first thing humans ever wrote down was a transaction. Cowrie shells traveled from coastal Africa to China to pre-colonial America, one of the most universal currencies ever used on 3 separate continents. In ancient Mesoamerica, cacao beans, the raw ingredient of chocolate, were taxed, hoarded, and counterfeited. On the island of Yap in the Pacific, enormous stone discs called rye stones served as money. Some weighed several tons. Nobody moved them. Everyone simply agreed on who owned which stone. The ledger, again, was community memory, applied now to a rock the size of a car. And here is the twist that should genuinely unsettle you. The first coins did not appear until around the 7th century BCE in the Kingdom of Lydia, in what is now Western Turkey, which means for thousands of years. Before that, thousands of years of temples, grain banks, clay tablets, shell trades. Economies ran on credit, on obligation a prepayment. Anthropologist and economic historian David Graeber documented this extensively, arguing that the standard story, barter first, then money, then credit, is almost certainly backwards. Debt is older than the coin. The promise came before the thing being promised. Money did not emerge because humans love to trade. Money emerged because social trust broke down at scale. When communities grew too large to track each other's generosity through memory alone, they needed an object, a token, to stand in for the relationship. The coin replaced the social bond. The bill in your wallet is a substitute for memory. Your ancestors did not use money for most of human history. They used each other. And underneath every price, every account, every digital balance you have today, the old system still runs. When a friend covers your dinner and waves it off. When a neighbor helps you without being asked. When someone vouches for you because you once did the same for them. That is the first economy, still alive, still tracking, still paying out. You reach into your pocket and pull out a piece of paper. Now you know what it really is. Not currency, not value. A record of trust in a world that forgot how to remember.